There's a specific moment that happens to almost every pre-retiree. You look at your portfolio balance, you do some quick math in your head, and you think, wait, I might actually be able to do this. And that's when the real questions start. Today, we're walking through a detailed case study of a couple with about $1.8 million who wants to retire at age 62. By the end, you'll understand the 6 critical factors that determine whether early retirement works and how to evaluate these same factors in your own situation. We'll also uncover one variable that often gets overlooked, and it might be more important than you'd expect. If you're new here, I'm Patrick Shope, and I'm the founder of Shope & Associates, and I've spent about 20 years helping people navigate these exact retirement readiness questions. So let's take a look at the numbers. Imagine a couple who we'll call Tom and Susan. They're both 62, both want to stop working immediately, and together they have about $1.8 million saved. They need about $75,000 per year to cover their living expenses, their travel goals, and their health care until Medicare kicks in. On paper, this looks totally doable. That's about 4.2% withdrawal rate. But let's get into this a little bit deeper. First, let's examine their withdrawal rate sustainability. At $75,000 from $1.8 million, we're looking at about 4.2% in year one. Recent Morningstar retirement income research suggests about 3.7% as a conservative starting withdrawal rate for a 30-year retirement with about a 90% chance of success. That puts Tom and Susan about half a percentage point higher than the current conservative estimates. When you're taking an extra $9,000 per year beyond the conservative threshold, those dollars add up over 3 decades. The key question, what's your withdrawal rate? And how does it compare to the current research? Second, let's look at their Social Security timing decision. If Tom and Susan wait until their full retirement age of 67, they might receive about $2,800 per month, but claiming at age 62 permanently reduces this by about 30%, down to about $1,960 apiece. That's a monthly household reduction of about $1,680 or over $20,000 per year. However, there's an opportunity cost to waiting. Those 5 years of early retirement have value beyond dollars. You got health, energy, time with family. The question becomes, is the lifestyle benefit worth the permanent reduction in Social Security? Third, healthcare costs during the Medicare gap years are substantial and often underestimated. From age 62 to 65, Tom and Susan are going to need private insurance. Based on the current ACA marketplace data, unsubsidized coverage for a couple in their early 60s often runs about $1,000 to $1,200 per month per person, depending on the location and the plan choice. At $1,200 per month each, that's about $28,800 per year for both of them, which is a significant chunk of their $75,000 budget. Income management during these years can sometimes reduce costs through the ACA marketplace subsidies, and it doesn't make a difference how much money you have saved in investments. It's about your income. Now, those first 3 factors, withdrawal rate, Social Security, and healthcare, are what many people focus on, and they matter. But in my experience working with early retirees, the next 3 factors are what actually determine whether a retirement plan is robust or if it's fragile. The fourth is early retirement creates potential tax planning opportunities. You see, during those gap years before Social Security actually begins, Tom and Susan might find themselves in surprisingly low tax brackets. This creates potential opportunities that are worth exploring. With proper coordination, there may be ways to manage tax liability more efficiently during these early years. Fifth, and this is where the real risk often gets overlooked, portfolio allocation becomes critical when you're facing sequence or returns risk. Here's the factor I mentioned earlier. It's not just about whether your portfolio grows on average over 30 years. It's about what happens in those first few years of retirement. If Tom and Susan retire and immediately face a major market decline while taking withdrawals, this could significantly impact their portfolio sustainability even with $1.8 million. This is called sequence of returns risk, and it's a particularly important consideration for early retirees. You see, a 30% market drop in year 1 or 2 of retirement, combined with continued withdrawals, can significantly reduce their portfolio's ability to recover to the planned levels. Finally, is flexibility and contingency planning becomes so essential. What if one faces health issues? What if healthcare costs spike beyond projections? Early retirees need more flexibility because they have longer retirements to navigate and fewer bailout options. They can't just work a few more years if things go wrong. This might mean building in buffers, maybe something like planning for $65,000 in expenses instead of $75,000, or having a strategy to reduce spending in market downturn. So what's the verdict for Tom and Susan? With their current plan, they're in a gray area. Their success largely depends on sequence of returns risk and how they manage the early years. If markets cooperate for the first decade, they'll likely be fine. If they face a major market downturn early on, they could struggle. The factor I highlighted, sequence of returns risk, is what makes or breaks early retirement scenarios. It's not just about having enough money. It's about when you'll need that money and what the markets do during those critical early years. And here's what makes this particularly tricky. The right answer for Tom and Susan might be completely wrong for someone with the same portfolio size, but different Social Security timing, or maybe different tax situations, or different flexibility in their spending. This is why cookie-cutter retirement calculations miss so much. The interactions between these factors matter more than the factors themselves. Here are some key factors worth considering. First, your actual withdrawal rate and how it compares to current research. Second, real healthcare costs in your area during the Medicare gap years. Third, the tax planning opportunities that may exist with early retirement. And then finally, how sequence of returns risk might affect your specific situation. Now, if you're sitting here wondering how your numbers stack up, whether your withdrawal rate is sustainable, how sequence of returns risk might affect you, we've put together a free educational planning tool in the description that lets you explore these factors with your own numbers. It's not personalized advice, but it can help you identify which questions matter most for your situation. Successful early retirement isn't just about accumulating enough money. It's about creating a flexible, robust plan that can withstand the unexpected. Tom and Susan's $1.8 million gives them options, but success will depend on how thoughtfully they navigate the risks we've discussed. If this analysis helped you think differently about your own retirement readiness, I'd love to hear which factors surprised you in the comments. We've covered different aspects of retirement planning every week, so make sure you're subscribed. Remember, the goal might not be to retire as soon as mathematically possible, but to retire with confidence when the time is right for you. As always, this is Patrick Shope, and I'll see you next week.